the place to go when you need to know. Kello, News Talk 1320, 107.9, and Kello.com. The Doctor of Discernment is on the air.
More than half the women in my administration are women.
It's time that everybody wake up and pay attention.
Dispensing a daily dose of common sense, no prescription required.
President Biden's approval rating ranks right up there with jock itch.
Come on, man. Give me a little break here.
People should not be afraid of their governments. Government should be afraid of their people.
I don't believe in a no-win scenario.
This is the Greg Belford Show.
Good morning, my friend. The marketplace of ideas is open. It's great to have you along. Good morning. Oh, this is sad news about the death of Toby Keith. Died at the age of 62. He's been battling stomach cancer. And his family announced that he passed away peacefully last night, surrounded by family. They said he fought with grace and courage. So there's a lot of fans are going to be taken aback by this. It's sad. So he has been battling stomach cancer, and he was diagnosed in 2021. And then earlier this month, he talked about his battle with cancer. It's one of the first times he's really talked about it. And he said, I was going through all the chemo, radiation, surgery, and I got to the point where I was comfortable with whatever happened. I had my brain wrapped around it, and I was in a good spot either way, he said. And then he also talked about his wife, and he said that she was the best nurse for him as he went through this. He said she's been a trooper. She's the best nurse. The first time we went to Houston to the hospital, she stepped right in. She took control and said, "We got this. Let's go." So she's like, "We're going to get this, and don't worry about it." It's really important to have that kind of support. You know what I mean? When you go through something like that. Really sad. So Toby Keith had released his first album was back in 1993. And some of the hits initially then were like Red Solo Cup and I Want to Talk About Me. And then he went on to release a number of others. Most recently, he won the 2023 People's Choice Country Awards in September. He received the Country Icon Award there. So Toby Keith is dead at the age of 62. Just really sad. Leaves behind his wife, their 3 children, 4 grandchildren, and a lot of fans who really appreciated him and his music. So Toby Keith has passed away. That's a big story this morning. Also, the House Rules Committee has improved impeachment articles against Alejandro Mayorkas, the Secretary of Homeland Security. So we may see a floor vote today then. So we may see a House vote on the floor today regarding these impeachment articles that were sent. And Chairman Tom Cole of the House Rules Committee said yesterday, he said, the resolution before us is about accountability. I take no pleasure in our actions today. But Secretary Mayorkas' actions, both in his intentional refusal to enforce our laws and abandoning the confidence of Americans, require us to act. And so the House Homeland Security Committee voted in favor of the resolution along party lines, and now this has been sent to the full U.S. House of Representatives, and we'll see what happens there. You and I have talked a lot about the border bill, and this Senate border bill is all indications were yesterday that this would be a done deal by Wednesday, and now it's not so certain. It's on rocky ground now to whether or not they're going to be able to actually complete the vote. So Senator Kristen Sinema was on Fox News Channel talking about this yesterday. Senator Sinema helped craft the bill. Oh, man. Do I need to tell you anymore? I mean, seriously, Senator Sinema, do you need to know more? She crafted the bill along with Senator Jim Lankford of Oklahoma and Chris Murphy of Connecticut. And she says this bill is being mischaracterized, basically is what she said. I think there's some real misunderstanding about this section of the law. She's talking about this. Now, listen, my head starts throbbing, and I was sharing this stuff earlier in the morning. I want you to listen to how Kristen Sinema describes this bill, and then Donald Trump was on Newsmax last night. And I'll tell you the way Trump responds and reacts to it. One is really, really clear and easy to understand, and one is as convoluted as you can imagine. So Senator Sinema says, she was talking about the section of the bill that Republicans have been blasting the most, and she says, that's the triggering of emergency authority to prohibit migrant entry if average encounters then surpass 4,000 or 5,000 a day. And she says that's being mischaracterized. And she said the bill is right to expand detention capabilities given the estimated 7 to 10 year notice to appear time frame. And she said, that's obviously a horrible, horrible outcome. But that is what happens with the majority of illegal entrants right now. So we expand detention beds so that those individuals will go into detention, be processed, and deported right away. Not everyone can go into detention, though. Little kids who are here alone, families, we're not allowed to keep them in detention. And so we create a new system for them where we keep them under supervision. Just what the United States needs is another system. Yeah, let's create a new system. And she said, and then we have a very short period of time in which we determine their asylum claim is valid or not, and then deport them out of the country. That's the way she described it. And it's mystifying to me that you can't get Republicans on board with that kind of an explanation. Here comes Trump now. Trump is on Newsmax yesterday. He was talking to Rob Schmidt, and Trump was asked, how can some Senate Republicans be itching to sign off on this $118 billion bill? And so Trump said this, well, it's hard to believe because I think it would probably mean the end of their career. Trump said this is a Democrat trap. It's a trap for Republicans that would be so stupid, so foolish to sign a bill like this. He said it's not only that, it's massive amounts of money going out of town, as we say, billions and billions and billions of dollars. And it's so bad on the border. I've never seen anything like it, Trump said. Actually, it's one of the dumbest bills I've ever seen. And then Trump went on to say something you have heard on this program before, and you hear there are a number of people who are saying that. And Trump has been out there leading the way. He said, you don't need a bill. He said, I had the safest border in the history of our country. We had no bill. I just said close the border. It's closed. We had the safest border in history, the history of our country. We had the safest border. Now we have, I believe, the worst border in the history of the world. There's never been a border like this ever. I don't care where you go, third world country. And then Trump was talking. Now again, compare what Trump is saying to the absolute just dribble coming out of Kristen Sinema's mouth on Fox News. I think that was an interview she did on the Bret Baier program. And compare the simplicity and the clarity of what Donald Trump is saying versus senators who would have you understand that, make you feel like an idiot. Oh, you don't. You don't. It's being mischaracterized. You don't understand it. Oh, yeah, we're stupid. Trump also talked about the Remain in Mexico policy. He said, I went to Mexico, negotiated with Mexico. They gave us 28,000 troops. They gave us a lot of other things. Stay in Mexico. We called it Remain in Mexico. They gave us that. This bill doesn't have anything about Remain in Mexico, Trump said. So this border bill, and Senator Tim Scott also was interviewed by Fox News Channel, and I think this, he said, he was asked the question as to whether he would support this, and again, the details of this deal were released on Sunday night. And so Senator Scott said, will you support this? And he said, I'm a Hades no, he said about this bill. And he said the bill is unsatisfactory and unnecessary. And he said, again, how many times do we have to repeat this before people begin to understand it? Biden is already able to secure the border without any additional power. Scott said it allows too many migrant crossings before it's activated. And Biden has said he can't secure the border without fixes to a broken immigration system. And Scott said, I think it's such a lie to think that Joe Biden needs Congress to act in order for him to secure the border. Absolutely right. Absolutely right. He said we're going to spend $60 billion for Ukraine. And make no mistake, that's what this bill is all about. It's not about the border. It's not about, because Joe Biden could secure the border right now. Exactly as Trump said. Trump did it, took action, got it done. Joe Biden could do the same. What this bill is really about, they are so damn eager to get this $60 billion to Ukraine. They are beside themselves. And that's what this is all about, in my opinion. I think it's all about that money for Ukraine. And they'll throw some other money, billions here and there, trying to mask the fact that this actually is $60 billion more for Ukraine. And that's what's at the heart of all this. And so Senator Scott said, I'm thankful that we're finally having a conversation about the border, but it's the wrong one. He said we should be fixing and securing our southern border, and the President of the United States can do that right now. He said he undid what Trump had done. He said Joe Biden did it by himself. He literally shredded a secure border with his actions as president. Now, Senator Tim Scott's not the only one that is got concerns. You've got Democrats over in the House of Representatives who are also concerned about it. The head of the, before you say, oh, this is just Republicans. No. The head of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus over in the House, Democrat Representative Nanette Barragan. She said there are some good provisions in the bill. However, there are many more that are not in line with our values. Take away due process safeguards in our asylum system, could make matters worse at the southern border. More importantly, fail to include protections and legal pathways for our dreamers. And she goes on. So this bill, then, it's not just the Never Trumpers. It's not just or excuse me, it's not just the Donald Trump crowd, those who support Donald Trump. It's not just them. There are a lot of opposition to this bill in the Senate. And so yesterday, the news was that likely Wednesday, we would see this coming out on Wednesday. And now it's, we don't know. We don't know. Other big stories this morning. President Biden's team, according to Axios. Axios tells the story. You remember Robert Hur? He's the special counsel looking into the president's handling of classified documents. We're talking about the documents that were stored in his garage. Remember this? So Robert Hur has been looking into this. And Axios has got a story on this. And his report is coming out. And so those who are close to the president say they don't expect criminal charges in this case, but they believe this report is going to be embarrassing for the president, and it will include photos about how Joe Biden stored these documents. And Axios says even if there are no criminal charges, Biden aides expect the report's details to be politically damaging. And then they say they got bullet points underneath. Biden has defended storing documents from his vice presidency in his garage, saying, by the way, my Corvette is in a locked garage, so it's not like they're sitting out on the street. That was Joe Biden's response. Oh, my car. That is a red herring. You understand that, right? They never should have left the White House. How did he get those? How was he? We talked about this at the time. Senators say, hey, when you go in and you view these classified documents, you view them, and you leave them there. You can't even take your notes out. So we've got U.S. senators, they go in, they see these classified documents. They're not allowed then to write them down verbatim and take them out. If they take notes while they're in these meetings, their notes have to remain behind. The documents, of course, remain secured. How did Joe Biden get all of those documents to his home? That's the question. Not about, stored in the Corvette, in the garage with my Corvette. Oh. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. And they're saying something because there's a lot of dumb stuff going on right now. Also, another big story this morning, Donald Trump has filed a final brief then to the U.S. Supreme Court ahead of the arguments in the Colorado ballot cases. Colorado, of course, trying to keep Trump off the ballot. So Trump's team has filed their final brief to the U.S. Supreme Court. Attorneys for Trump this week made a last push to convince the top court to keep him on the ballot. They filed a 30-page brief yesterday saying that Trump should stay on the ballot. They characterized the case as anti-democratic and compared the effort to remove Trump from the ballot to anti-democratic efforts that are currently unfolding in Venezuela. So Trump's attorney said, at a time when the U.S. is threatening sanctions against the socialist dictatorship in Venezuela for excluding the leading opposition candidate from the ballot, we're asking this court to impose that same anti-democratic measure at home. So we'll see what the Supreme Court comes up with. California's been much in the news. This Pacific storm It's the second weather system. It's being called the Pineapple Express weather system. It's the second to hit the West Coast in less than a week, and it has dumped a lot of rain on Southern California. Did it again yesterday, triggering street flooding, mudslides all throughout the region. And some of the photos and video of that are pretty shocking when you see it. So, thoughts and prayers for the folks in California dealing with that weather system. Also, Nikki Haley has asked for Secret Service protection. She says the number of threats that she is receiving are on the rise. And she's receiving, she told the Wall Street Journal yesterday that her campaign has multiple issues. And she said, it's not going to stop me from doing what I need to do. So she is requesting now Secret Service protection because she is receiving threats. And there's another story. McDonald's CEO admitted that sales of McDonald's have taken a big hit as those jacked up menu prices have really turned off their core customers. And so McDonald's now plans to focus on affordability this year. They have taken heat, and we've talked about this. There was a Big Mac combo meal priced at nearly $18. And so their sales are down, and the CEO of McDonald's saying, yeah, we've got to get back to affordability. And that's a look at the big stories this morning.